For the 1,548th time, I wish you a good evening. You're listening to Jackson Snyder Presents, produced by the Vero Essene Goodwill, a Hebrew Nation Radio original. And tonight, Commander Lee and I are 30 days on the road in our Goodwill Tour on behalf of the Ahad, traveling primarily north and south and to the east of the Mississippi River. We've gone through Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin, and that's where we are right now. Wisconsin in the middle of our trip, and we're raring to keep on going. In fact, we're in Madison at the Madison Hebrew Roots Fellowship, pastored by Elder John Carlin, who is from the same city as I am, that is Findlay, Ohio. I haven't seen him since he's a little boy, but here we are now visiting him, and we'll have a report on him pretty soon because he's a congregation builder now. Oh, I'll save that for later. But last night we stayed with a self-styled poltergeist. Yes, you heard me right. A poltergeist. That is some type of a spirit that's able to move things around in a room. Of course, when we met up with this fellow, I'm not even going to tell you his city, much less his name, we were very interested in interviewing him to find out what a poltergeist is and what he or she does as a poltergeist. And what came forth from that was about 3 hours of dialogue, much of which is quite logical, and some perhaps even at the genius level, but also much trivia and discussions and dialogues about the words of the Bible, theology, the composition of Elohim, are there more than one Elohim, and a disaster that this poltergeist has prophesied downtown in a certain city to come very, very soon. And this is what really drew us over here, was that I had received a message from this fellow, and he said quite plainly that he needed to somehow put a stop to a catastrophic event that he had put into existence but hadn't quite happened yet. So this is primarily what we talk about in the course of the 3 hours, and indeed here I'm someplace else entirely, and most of the evening was taken up with messages from him to continue on the discussion. I want to share it with you. In fact, I'd like to share it all with you, but I need to listen to it again first while I'm editing it to see if there would be anything of a public interest. Because as silly as this may sound, a poltergeist, he may be one. But you be the judge. I stayed in his house, and indeed, a lot of things were flying around a lot of the time. But as for this prophecy, well, I'll let you know about that as soon as it's resolved. Certainly, if it's in the works, we want Elohim to stop it, except, of course, if it's in his will, which I would hope it wouldn't be. But this poltergeist has enlisted my help to try to stop this thing that he has put into play. A disaster of great measure that is going to be heard of from one end of this country to the other. Well, let's hear him do some talking. So you want to hear about this music? Why, this is an overture to the musical I've written called James the Just. Enjoy it if you can, because you're never going to hear the musical. At least not until I'm dead.
I must add my 2 kopecks into this recording as well. You see, there is unorthodox theology here, and maybe a few words that your children might not want to hear, but that you probably use every time you stub your toe. So fair warning here, if unorthodox theology bug you, or if 1 or 2 4-letter words have you up in arms to call Hebrew Nation Radio and give them devil about Jackson Snyder Present or me, Bogdan G. Shroomkopf? Best just not listen to this series. Honest to goodness, if we get one more complaint, we're out of there.
You should have told him that, Shroomy. You shouldn't have told him that. Somebody's definitely going to call in now.
But you know what they do in the neighborhood here? The mayor had them do these triangulation systems to pinpoint where gunshots are fired. Well, it didn't take the criminal element in the neighborhood long to figure out, hey, we'll use this audio technique of firing blanks right outside this apartment here in front of the church as a way of diverting while we take care of this burglary over here. Got it? Okay, good. Let's go. Let's synchronize.
That's a cool idea.
That's what they do.
They do the same thing.
All of these governmental systems have bugs in them, and people just exploit them because it's all based on a lack of principle. It's based on rule of law, not rule by principle. That is the Achilles heel of this country.
Well, who are you anyway, knowing that we're rolling?
I am Maverick Chaparral.
All right. Do you want me to ask you some questions, or do you want to just roll? You roll really good.
Let me keep rolling, and if I get stuck, give me a kick start. That's what we do with those GE turbines, by the way. They're made like crap. Use Chinese components down there. You go climb all the way up there.
Yeah.
Pick it a few times.
That's what you do.
Start it up again.
A cheap computer. You just 2 feet off the ground and drop it.
Yeah.
Everything's, reset the board. That's what's up.
Yeah, that's going to be a big burden, I'm afraid to say. As enthusiastic as I was about that job, I mean, I really loved being on top of those turbines. But I worked a wind turbine in Texas.
Oh,
wind turbine in Texas. And this is where I was supposed to go, because this is where I met my shaman teacher. But I wasn't aware that he was my teacher, but I was suspicious about it because I was being pulled in a direction I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go to Texas. I wanted to go to Colorado because I needed some medicine. I needed it badly.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, that's where I really wanted to go because it was closer to my parents. I didn't want to go all the way to hell down to Texas.
Well, we just was yesterday at a cannabis clinic in Michigan.
Yeah.
Spent the day there. That was interesting. Rob Lepine.
Yeah.
You remember him?
I don't.
Okay. You're unfettered. Oh, you told me you were a poltergeist, and evidently we got a faulty idea of what that really is.
I don't even completely understand it because I didn't read about it until recently. That's how I figured out what it was. Mm-hmm. I read Isaac Bonewit's Real Magic book, and in which he did a very brief description of like what some Soviet scientists were doing in their investigations of poltergeists and the radio patterns that it would have upon objects varying by weight and distance from what is called the agent. The agent in the poltergeist is somebody, and you're going to have to double check this, but they have some kind of inner turmoil that is connected, it has been assumed connected to someone's sexuality, but isn't necessarily always the case. It can be other things, and one of those is religious trauma.
Is that what you think that you experienced?
Well, I had both, and it was all self-inflicted.
Oh, I knew you had a lot of trauma in your life.
Yeah.
But does that you find that becoming a poltergeist kind of relieves some of that?
No, I've been a poltergeist since the time I was a child in it's somewhere in the early 70s. Mm-hmm. That's when it happened. It happened on the floor of the Church of Nazarene in South Milwaukee.
Wow! Before you do, why don't I look that up and see what the common definition of that is just for fun? Because you're not sure. You just know you are.
Hey, you know what? It would be interesting if this was going live. It'd be very interesting if you had this thing of this going live right now.
I could get it live.
Why don't you do it live? Okay,
well, we'll have to do it another time.
Why don't you do it live?
All right. You want to do it live?
Yeah, I want to do it live.
All right.
Nobody's going to be on. Then
I'll get somebody on.
Allison.
Let's do it live. Let's go live. I'm feeling a need to. You see, people who've been traumatized in this way, we resonate in a way that is different than the way other people do. While you're getting this ready to go live, I'll get back to this later, so don't worry about it. Okay. Before I said I was a pulsar. And a pulsar, so this is a way of like picturing it. A pulsar is a collapsed neutron star, and it spins very rapidly, and it's very, 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 very dense, and it's very destructive. But it's not a black hole. It's not a black hole.
Never been there.
But it's very destructive because it's got this wobble on its axis, and it'll rip things to shreds. It's very destructive. And in the psychic world, this is known as a partial empath. Partial empath is a person who is very empathetic, but they've been wounded very badly, so you better fucking watch out. And the problem is, my density has caused me to absorb the fears and anxieties of people around me. So here I am. For some reason, I was born with some kind of a sensitivity. And that in itself was not a bad thing. It was a good thing. I was very sensitive because from the moment I stepped in that Nazarene church and was hearing things from the pulpit when I was a child, my earliest memory was writhing in pain on the floor in the church. It was just hurting me. I would hear about this horrible God, Yahweh, in the Old Testament, and it would just give me pain in my stomach. It would hurt. And my parents didn't know. I'd just be under the pew in pain, just writhing in pain and wrestling with this pain. And then eventually it left me. And, I had my friends in the church there and blah, 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 learn about Jesus stuff and that. But the earliest memory is very young, is on the floor in the Nazarene church, hearing about all this doomsday shit because they had all this going on. And see, my dad was an art student at UWM. Now watch how all this stuff fits together. He was an art student at UWM, and he was a Roman Catholic who had met my mom, and they had converted to Protestantism, and there's some question in there as to what they were doing, because I think somebody has been lying to me, because John, my brother, is convinced that our mother is lying to us about something. And I discovered something. When you have the ability that I do, the only people that can lie to you are your own blood relatives.
I can see that. The best.
Yeah.
Or there's something so similar to you in them that you don't see the difference. I think I would, yeah.
My wife, I knew when she was lying and when she was not lying most of the time, except when my own fears and doubts would overtake me. For shortly after we got was it after we got engaged or before our transaction of intention? Oh, okay. So we got engaged for a cheapy $17 or $27 menorah necklace that the metal rubbed off and revealed a different kind of metal, because we were doing the messianic thing. It just so happened that as I was jumping out of the church, my wife was jumping out of the church. This lovely woman over here. And we just so happened to be kind of on messianicism. This is just after I had psychically extracted the password out of my Thai girlfriend. And I didn't even know I was doing it. It was my wound from the past that was sucking it out of her, because I have a wobble to my axis. It catches you off guard because it catches me off guard. That's why I can't predict the exact time when an event is going to happen. I can't predict the exact time an event is going to happen. I've got a wobble. And I got an astigmatism. So I'm a little bit crooked. I got the general concept. But the wobble's there. So this whole idea of psychics having pinpoint accuracy is really stupid. I'm looking at the bigger picture. My wobble gives me a different objective. You see, you do that with your eyes. You close your right eye, you see one viewpoint, and you reverse that and close your left eye, and you see a different viewpoint. Okay? And I think I just had this switched around, but you get the general idea. So and that's what it is all about. It's about verification. And you see, that's really what the key of this is, what it's all about. It is about verification. Verification. So we'll come back to that. So where was I going? Where was I before?
All right, we're going
live right now.
Okay.
And people may or may not join. I sent out lots of invitations in that short of time, so
Okay. All right.
we'll see what happens.
Okay.
Now I can get my poltergeist on here as well.
Yeah, I did not even know what a poltergeist was until I read about it a couple months ago.
Really?
Yeah.
There's someone right now, Paula. Dennis, thanks for joining. This is going to be an unusual meeting. It's just on the cuff. It just happened.
On the SF66 Pro Zac sound microphone. And by the way, I'm not superstitious about numbers, so that meant absolutely nothing to me.
What's the SL mean?
I don't know. I should know, because this used to be the field I was in. I used to be a sound guy. I did independent avant-garde films to further the kingdom of Yeshua. It's a cool looking film. I was trying to, and this will get back to the whole. All this is taking circles that are so amazing, because I was a straight edge avant-garde filmmaker who, without the aid of entheogens, tried to make entheogenic films, and people thought my films were pretty cool looking. So I was making avant-garde films first for Jesus and then for Yeshua, because that was the transition time. I was trying to be an avant-garde filmmaker for Jesus, Yeshua. God bless you.
Hold on. I believe the problem's going to be on your side.
Who me? What I did? I hope I didn't cause an earthquake or something.
The video's not getting through. Everything is go here.
Okay.
When I talk, it shouldn't be loud, but when he talks, should.
What time was that? Ba-dum-bum. That was. Okay. It says SF as in San Francisco Earthquake 666 Pro. Ba-dum-bum. See, I track these synchronicities, and their energies are gonna feed into this. And it's not that I want their energies to feed into it, it's just I can't help but attract it. And see, there was a lot of hysteria. There was so much hysteria in the 70s about the evils of rock and roll. Oh my gosh. I grew up in the midst of that, and they made it seem as scary as hell. And you know what, but from a young age, I really liked that music.
I really back to the beginning again now that you got an audience.
All right. Okay.
What is the poltergeist, and why do you think you are one?
Okay, I did not even know what a poltergeist was, except for having read about the scientific investigations done into it by an atheist, for crying out loud. Okay, so I'm thinking, all right, there's got to be some objectivity here. Okay, and now granted, this guy, Isaac Bonewitz, is a lovely man. The first time I heard him speak on the Freeman Show, I was just enraptured by how clear thinking his clear thinking was, and how honest he was. His honesty really struck a chord in me.
Isaac Bonewitz?
Yeah, and then later I found out it was like a rerun. And so I heard him, and I was like, well, I got to look up this guy. And then I found out, oh, gee, he's this is right after I've exited Messianicism. And I'm looking at, he's a druid guy. Ooh, that's kind of scary. Oh, I don't know if I feel so right about it.
What kind of druid?
I don't even know. I don't know anything. I'm totally naive. You know, this is the other thing about this. This will show you how dangerous a poltergeist can be, with a wobble that can catch you off guard. I'm naive. My wife is my eyes, but you're gonna have that out. Can you dot that out and swear this person to secrecy?
Well, you swear them secrecy. There's a couple over there right now.
I'm telling you right now, people cannot lie to me. People cannot lie to me ever.
All right.
I will extract the truth out of you.
Let's go back to the question.
Without even trying. I don't even try to do it. Let me tell you what I did once. I had a Thai girlfriend across the ocean who I was about to leave my wife of a Christian marriage for. And one day she tells me, hey, I need some help. Somebody's trying to hack into my email account. Can you help me? I'm like, sure. And so she says, here, take my email and see who's trying to get into my account. And so I got into her account. And I found out who it was. It was me. I was the one who was trying to get into her account. Yeah. I didn't know I was. But I was a little bit curious. because I was very trusting of her, because I had been very badly damaged from my previous marriage, because it was an arranged marriage. It was a marriage that I did not want from the beginning. I only did that marriage for Jesus, Yahweh Jesus hybrid.
Well, is that when you became a poltergeist?
No, I became a poltergeist when I was very young. I don't know exactly, but I remember being on the floor of the Church of the Nazarene in South Milwaukee.
You were a child.
This was when I was a child.
What happened?
I was on the floor hearing a description from the pulpit of how horrible and terrible this Yahweh was who was going to judge people. And I understood it very well. And for some reason, and I don't know why this is, as a child, I had a very keen ability to understand infinities in a theoretical way. It was just like a way I could picture things in my mind. The most fun I had in math in high school and junior high school was geometry class and trigonometry. I just love those classes, especially when you get to these points where something would shoot off into infinity, and then there would be something that would go far beyond infinity, which is an impossibility, but yet there it is. It's a paradox.
Mathematical possibility.
Yeah, it's a mathematical possibility. And I had a really keen understanding of this when I was a child. I just loved those functions, those mathematical functions. And so when I'm hearing this description of this Yahweh, who is so holy that his holiness is defined by an anger that is also likewise infinitely infinite. And that infinite anger defines a hell. It wasn't made for humans originally, but oh well, you guys are getting sucked down into it anyways. You guys are getting sucked down into it anyways, according to the theology of a very large segment of society. Okay, and so you have this huge undertow. And we can go into the mathematics of it, but the description you have through Protestantism, through Catholicism, through Islam, I'm trying to get a straight answer. I have one friend who is in Reform Judaism who says they don't believe in an afterlife. I have another friend who's in Orthodox Judaism who says that they do believe in an afterlife. And you have everybody else in between somewhere, and you got the Messianics and all that, and it's a big mess, Yannick.
Well, you as a poltergeist, what do you think? You probably. I need to look the definition of it.
Well, here we'll get back to that later. Because you'll get a very standard definition of it, and it's very accurate. Okay, it's very accurate. So here I am. I am on the floor of the Church of Nazarene as a child, and I'm getting the infinite implications of what is being said from the pulpit. I'm getting it. It's like I see it in my mind's eye. I understand it, and it's scary as shit. And so I'm hearing it, and I'm just writhing in the floor underneath the pew of the Church of Nazarene. Okay, so I'm being dramatic right now, so don't think I'm having an attack or something.
You're talking about the regular Church of the Nazarene?
Church of the Nazarene in South Milwaukee. Well, yeah, now it is. They closed their doors when I came back in town after returning from Death Valley. Ooh, pretty scary, huh? On the SF666 Pro microphone here. That's what it says. I'm just reading the script here. Get it? The pun there? The script here? Scripture? Yeah, see?
Do they think that they know what 666 is in China, where that thing was?
I don't even know.
I think it's a higher power.
Turn it upside down, it's a can of tuna brand.
Yeah.
All the superstition about numbers is a bunch of bullshit, I'm telling you. People, it's just a way to draw your energies and try to manipulate you. There's so many numbers that you can make your own special number. You can make pi your own special number, and you can all claim you got the right one, but none of you do because it's irrational. But it's the most simple shape that you can make, and that's a circle. All you need is a piece of string, a point, and a pencil, and around you go.
Can you, how far out can you get past the decimal point?
It never ends. It's infinite. 3.141592755 something like that.
Okay, you got 5 on.
Yeah,
it's good. Most humans don't even know what that is.
Yeah, I don't have those kind of abilities. Maybe one of my sons does or something. I think one of them does. So here I am. So you heard that cheap theatrical did me writhing on the floor, add some heavy metal music in there. And in my mind's eye, I am picturing this. And the weird thing about this is I never saw this movie.
Well, beloved, we have to take a little break now. We'll be back when it's finished, promise. Just as I promised, Jackson Snyder Present is back now to finish up message and fulfill promise.
I am sucking this through my dad's soul because he saw this movie as a child and it scared the shit out of him.
What movie?
The one that Disney made with the, that horned, scary-looking thing rising up.
Fantasia?
Yeah!
You must excuse me. I'm eating pickle right now. That movie they're talking about is Disney's Fantasia. Good pickle.
So see, I actually got this from my dad. I actually sucked it away from my dad. My dad got it as a child. And I just learned this just now. And the reason I'm learning it just now is because there's a lot of people like us out there. You notice I just said my dad. My dad got this in a very common way. He got his life scared out of him.
By the same thing?
By the same theology. By the same poisonous theology. And it creates people who have chaotic emotional axi, and they're very destructive. And when you cram them together in cities, it drives people insane. And it's a good thing that this is kind of an isolated area for me in this corner of the city, but I really feel much safer out in the desert because I don't want to cause harm to anybody, because I am predominantly an empath. An empath is a person who is very sympathetic to people's pains and aches. I have a very, very intense empathy for people who are in pain because I feel a lot of it myself daily, morning, noon, and night. The only way I can get any relief from it is through what Dr. Jackson here sells. So, don't mean to make a plug for you there, but it's just true. Sorry.
What about
Kratom.
do you also
Which I can't get here legally in Wisconsin, by the way, thanks to Scott Walker. Yeah.
Do you have that same kind of thing?
What do you mean?
You wouldn't have the same time. I know when I was very young, when I saw that.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't only attract it from my dad. I also got it from my mom. I double dose because I doubly collapsed because before we would go to sleep each night, we would pray. And I would have to pray and I would have to plead to the Lord, who I know as Yahweh. I would have to plead to Yahweh on behalf of my grandparents who did not believe in Jesus the way that our church did, because my grandparents were something else, and the impression that was given to me as a child, and to my brother, and to my other sister, and to my other brother, was that my grandpa was an atheist. No, my grandfather was an atheist, but my mother is in denial about it, because she can lie to her own blood. She can lie to me, but now I know how to see, because I died twice. I died twice because at night I would have to plead on behalf of my grandparents that Yahweh would take over the free will of my grandparents and get them to believe in the Jesus of the parents of my church, of the Nazarene in South Milwaukee. And you see, when hell was described over and over and over again, Sunday morning, Sunday school, Sunday morning preaching, go home, eat lunch, come back Sunday night, preaching, go to school. Oh, on Wednesday night, we're going to Wednesday night preaching. And then if that wasn't enough, we would have all-day week revival, hammering away 7 days a week.
The same doctor?
The same doctrine. The same doctrine that that Yahweh is infinitely holy, that infinite holiness is defined by infinite anger, which is defined defaultly, even though it wasn't made for humans. Oh well, a little bit careless there with math. Defaultly defined as infinite suffering. So I could visualize in my mind's eye, because I am a very strong empath, I could visualize the most horrible, terrible, sadistic torture that you could imagine. And so like when I'm thumbing through the books in the library and looking at these torture methods, like, oh yeah, and when I was a child, I could visualize that in my mind's eye, even though I never saw it, because it's the logical way that you would make yourself hurt. Duh, it's mathematically possible. And we were told that whatever man did, the Lord, which we now know as Yahweh, the Lord would be that much more severe. Sinners in the hands of the angry God theology all the way through. 100%. Okay, so I'm a very empathetic child, and I die twice under the influence of my parents. My dad's dragging us to this church every week. My mom's having us plead on the behalf of our beloved grandparents, who I love more than anything in the world. I have to plead to Yahweh on their behalf so that he overtakes their free will, possesses them. See, you guys got this wrong. I have to pray for Yahweh to possess my grandparents, to go against their free will, to accept the Jesus that my church is peddling, who's coming back any fucking day now. Now, pardon my language, but I have to say that because it ties into the next thing. I die 3 times, maybe more. So my access is all over the place here. So
I'm with you.
We'll get this.
What you're saying.
So my access. So I'm dying with my mother every time I'm praying on behalf of my grandparents to this horrifying creature who takes over people's free will, possesses their free will. People can't see this because their axes are off. There are so many sick people out. Probably the north, especially in a small, crowded city where violence reigns. Think about this. Where was I before?
You never told us about Nazarene Church and what happened.
Okay, so I'm writhing on the floor and all this pain and stuff, because I'm hearing about how horrible hell is going to be for the people for all eternity, where their skin is being torn off and their eyes are being poked out and their genitals are being mutilated and things are being shoved into their orifices and their chemicals are being dumped on, their eyes being gouged out, and reset, start over for all eternity, and it never ends. It never ends. And this God is horrifying. He's just driving me. But deep within me, I just, later on in my life, I'm just getting like this feeling. So somehow I'm rebirthing out of it. And I'm just getting this feeling that there's something more to this than this. So I'm not dead yet, but something died in me. Those are 2 key instances. And they're still hammering away at us, 3 days. I
just decided not to believe that. Go try to find the truth.
Well, but the problem was, here's the problem. All of that theology is backed up if you take the Bible to be absolutely as the literal Word of God. If you don't take it as some other form of literature, you're not looking at it properly.
If you take the English Bible.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's not what I'm saying at all.
It's not like that in the autograph.
Okay, see, this is the thing that's going to take down Facebook, the NSA, all of the data that they've been sucking out of us, and it's going to be done by their own doing because they lack the discernment between truths and lies. They sucked it all into one big vacuum cleaner bag, and now all they got is a big pile of shit, and they don't know what to do with it. The system's shutting down.
You're talking about the data they've been mining?
The data they've been mining. And you see, I can see it because I'm a poltergeist. I have a lot of axi. I can spot if something is off.
Axi, like plural of ax.
Yeah, you could make like a pun on that if you wanted to. Yeah, but I have a lot of different axi, E-Y-E. I just noticed that. Isn't that funny? I don't know.
Yeah, because the plural is axi.
Yeah.
Well, you're using axi like this right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm thinking of the wobble of a proton star that has collapsed. Mm-hmm. Maybe within our beings we have several stars. I don't even know how this is. You see, because the people like us, we are the deep well that nobody can ever touch. We are the touchable.
Why is it?
Because we've died so many times. And what we do is we resonate at a deep level that nobody can tap into unless they have it. But empathy is the resonance of the earth. I have a website. I don't know if it's up. It was called Temple of Humane Cannabis. You may have heard of it. This is my shameless plug for it. Where was I before I went on a stupid tangent?
Okay,
It's not stupid. That's my wobble.
You died numerous times from theology of the Christian Church.
I was trying to insert humor there as a wobble.
Okay.
Lighten things up a little bit.
Oh, okay. Okay. You want a little help?
I'm good now. I'm good.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm dying literally in the church there, and by the time you're a teenager, then they're hammering away at you about how evil and satanic rock and roll music was. Well, before I heard that, before they started suddenly preaching this, all of a sudden, it just kind of came on, okay, now we got to hammer at rock and roll music. Before that, my parents were listening to it on the radio when we wake up in the morning, Simon Garfunkel, Parsley, Sage, Rosemary, and Thyme.
That's evil.
Oh, yeah, I love that album. That is one of my favorites. It resonates so deeply.
They took all the copies of Jesus Christ Superstar out of the church, burned the church.
Oh.
I thought it was a great witness.
Oh, and by the way, here's my plug for Soviet France. Kudos to you guys. I want you guys to get recognized, because you're going to get recognized after this. So you can be in the soundtrack of the movie about me, because I love you guys.
Soviet France?
Yeah, that's the image I pasted where I'm sucking in all this energy. They made an album called Feedback. Ooh, that picture showed how I felt the other day when I'm pulling in all this pain from people. Oh my gosh, I felt like Atlas at work. I'm like slugging through it. It's like this energy is just pulling back around me, and I'm feeling it right now as I'm experiencing it. That's why I'm kind of like, now I'm acting it out. But at that first burst there, that was real. Now I'm trying to do a replay, instant, docudrama.
So Soviet France is a music group.
Oh, I love those guys. My favorite.
English.
Yeah. In Newcastle upon Tyne, who I just by accident defeated a psychic vampire the other day when I was looking for help, because I was trying to figure out if I was a poltergeist of sorts. Because the thing that I learned about poltergeist was that a normal poltergeist, I just learned about this a couple months ago. A normal poltergeist, so if any of this information is a little bit off, it's my wobble. Please double check it with Isaac Bonewit's description in his book, Real Magic. That will be more accurate than what I say. So don't believe what I say, always double check. Okay, so a normal poltergeist flings around the objects around them. Like they fling cups and spoons and nudge dressers and things like that. And so the kinetic energy of the object is affected by distance and weight and in relative relation to the act. What's the name of the person? The actor. Forgot what it is.
When?
Don't. Oh, what do you want to do?
I'm just checking.
Okay. So anyways, where was I talking about?
Talking about a poltergeist, like.
Oh yeah. Someone who's been traumatized, religiously, emotionally, sexually, you name it. Any run-of-the-mill abuse. So it could be anything, and even things that I don't know about, because I never been traumatized by anything satanic ever. That is the absolute truth. Nobody has ever traumatized me by anything under the usual definition of Satanism. So watch out. See, I spotted a wobble that you guys didn't catch. You guys, maybe you caught it now. Okay, well, I'm not trying to draw it through you, so you might be just drawing my own conclusions. So don't trust anything I say. Double check everything.
Don't you think that what the Nazarenes were doing to you it certainly wasn't of Yahweh, but it was of their own God?
No, it's completely logically constructed out of the theology of when you take the Tanakh or the Old Testament and collide it with the New Testament. When you take those two things, which were never actually intended by the group of people you think they intended to make them for. The Jews certainly didn't think you did, Christians. I gotta be honest with you about that. They're like, what the heck? You guys hijacked our wobble test here.
There were 2 books in the original.
That was key. That was key. Make sure you guys don't miss that.
Okay.
The Torah is a wobble test. You have to look at it very carefully. And the thing that amazed me about this is that it's so ridiculously obvious. How the heck can people possibly miss this? And here I am, a run-of-the-mill electrician. I like doing artsy bends with the conduit. I get a kick out of doing it. I like doing it. I love doing these spiraler ones. That's where I really love doing it because I love doing ones where you do a spiral one where you're still using the bender because there's really no way to define that. Yeah. But in a spiral, like kind of like a Fibonacci kind of type deal. I was doing this down in Laredo. I was having a ball of my life up in those ceilings there. Oh yeah, this would be very useful for a product such as making canna butter. But I don't use it for that though. But somebody could. My
like a chocolate mold.
Yeah, it's like a can. You can make candles. You can make candles, and it's a silicone thing. Yeah, I don't use it for canna butter. I use what's very, very crude. I don't filter my can of butter. I eat it herb and all.
Excited? Excited now?
THC doesn't become active until 2 weeks.
Well, now this is something we learned.
Well, yeah. Okay. Well, let's.
Besides, yeah.
He wants to get back on his stuff here.
Okay. So, where were we talking about? So remember, I said always double check what I say. Do not believe anything I say. Double check it. Verify. Always verify.
I think it would be probably pretty easy not to.
You have 2 eyes in your head, a left eye, a right eye. You use them to verify. Your left ear, your right ear, use it to verify. Your nose and your tongue, you use those two to verify. Those are polarity. You always use polarities to verify. Polarities are what you verify things with. Polarities are what, in that wobble, that tilt, is how you spot the error. Because if you have a wobble or tilt, that means you've gone through some kind of rite of passage. And see, the way to master the abuses that you've been in is you have to view them as a rite of passage. Because all native cultures throughout the world have had rites of passages. Are you guys around me getting stoned right now, by chance? All right. Well, I'm just wondering if you're experiencing things because sometimes I suck things through people like I might be like a gravitational thing that be pulling something from you. If I talk about it with you, then I can kind of disconnect myself consciously from you because I don't want to suck it from you. Okay, all right. I just want to make sure because I have an effect on people around me and they're not aware of it, and so I ask them so that they become metacognitive and they double check what they're experiencing because I want to make sure that I'm not unconsciously pulling emotions from people because I really would like to disconnect from people because I'm pulling a lot of stuff in from people and also projecting things to people. That's the scary thing about it. That's the wobble of my axis. It's very destructive. I can pull my own fears and anxieties and past traumas through the people around me, and they will not be aware of what they are doing. I will pull my traumas through the people around me, and they are not aware of what they are doing. They do not act like themselves. They start attacking one another. I'm the only one that's acting sane. I'm the actor in this poltergeist. I'm not flinging objects around when I'm experiencing stress. When I'm experiencing stress, I'm flinging people's free wills around, and I'm not even trying to do it. And it's destructive. And recently there was a very fatal accident here, and I really hope that my presence here has not caused it. It was horrifying.
did it have to do with?
I don't know. I try to go cold turkey off of marijuana because I use it to soothe my pain, because I experience pain on a daily basis from morning, noon, and night, morning, noon, and night, morning, noon, and night. And I've noticed that a very strange phenomenon. See, I don't need to take it all the day, though. I don't need to take marijuana all day. You know where I get it? I get it at work. Do you know how I get it? I don't get it through the normal way. I absorb in kind of an entrainment fashion the buzz that my coworkers come in with in the morning. And so I start in the morning. I'm like, oh, I'm feeling fresh. I can move around. I feel really good. And I'm not on anything. I'm feeling pretty good. And this one stoner guy comes this last Wednesday, and I see his eyes, and I just find out that the foreman uses eye drops. So if he didn't, his would also be pink. And he sends us on, and I also think that the other foreman guy, you can't even see his eyes. He's got glasses on.
So what you're saying is these guys all come to work stoned,
but they're hiding it. They're hiding it, and this is the amazing thing. They are fantastically productive. They are ahead of schedule. They got time. They don't know what to do with.
Well, getting stoned helps you work. I mean,
it is unbelievable. But see, I'm not coming into work stoned, but once I arrive there, I'm feeling pretty good. And this guy comes into work, and we were sent to go look for a ladder that somebody has stolen or has misplaced somewhere. And, I'm up on the 4th floor, and he's passing on the 3rd floor beneath me, and I'm like, whoa! And I'm getting a laughing fit, and I'm floating on the 4th floor. I mean, not literally floating, but I'm feeling like I'm floating. I'm having the greatest time looking for this missing ladder in the dark on the 4th floor, and it's perfect synchronicity, because that's the perfect time, because nobody's going to spot us up here like this.
The perfect time for what?
The perfect time for me to be stoned at work without coming to work stoned, because I need pain relief so badly so that I can do my job. A job to which I absolutely love. I love being an electrician. And I've had to step down to low voltage next to a high voltage tower. You guys are going to see some things on the radar. This will explain a lot of anomalies. Dutch synths, we're calling you. So anyways, I die in the 1970s because Jesus is coming back soon. And my dad was an art guy at UWM, and I don't want to implicate anybody in any of this. Please understand. All of the people I mention in this description are victims of abuse because their parents are victims of abuse, because of this never-ending line, because, I hate to say it, of a faulty theology.
What Frank Hunt?
And I don't even know who these people are who you're talking about, because I'm not very well read. And this is what's so funny, because I meet this guy, Marcus DeWitt, this most amazing man, such a man of wisdom. He needs to be on Tulsi's team. I'm telling you, he will help make right the wrongs. This man is very sensitive. He's been wounded many a time. He pulled his wife from Africa, pulled mine from Indonesia. We pull our spouse through the earth. We are that powerful. But we don't do it by pulling. We don't pull them that way. We do it by verification. You see, we have something called it. See, this is the point of no return. This is the point of no return for all the people who want to destroy us. This is the point of no return. We've already crossed into the millennium. It is now, but it's not as you thought it would be. There's a tilt. There's a tilt to the axis. There's a tilt to the axis.
Talking about the Polish Earth.
No, there's a tilt to the axis of the theology. There's a little bit of a wobble that somebody didn't spot, and it was hidden in plain view. But you had to absorb. You had to at least theoretically absorb. At least theoretic. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to touch you there. I didn't want to be. I now understand your wisdom before, and I would like to apologize to you. You were hesitant in me giving you a hug, and I misjudged you, and I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry. Please, this is.
I don't know you. That's what I'm.
Well, no, but listen. You had very good reason to do that because I have a very powerful pull. So that's a good reason why that you didn't do that. So I thank you for that. You're using your discernment powers. That's exactly what you should do. Never trust anybody or anything, even if they tell you that they are God.
Scripture says don't lay hands.
Correct.
So I think that
Correct.
that.
Yeah, and that's good advice. There are many truths in the Bible. Many truths. Don't get me wrong. That's how it draws you in, because it is a wobble test.
What's a wobble?
I don't even know, but I'm going to define it is like you have to be wobbling in a certain way to catch it, and it's something that's hidden in plain view, and I had to stare that and hidden in plain view for 30 years, and it hurt like hell. And I looked at it straight in the eye in absolute abject fear for 30 years formally. For 30 years formally. For 30 years formally, because this is going to blow your mind with the Pauline theology.
I'm so sorry, but our poltergeist friend just kind of exploded away. That's all right, because he promised to be back for another couple of sessions. I find this very, very interesting. I hope you do too. You're listening to Jackson Snyder Presents, a production of the Vero Essene Goodwill Tour, a Hebrew Nation radio original.